Since we're not talking about any specifics of anything, we're just in the general position that once someone finds himself in some sort of relationship with someone else, that relationship could be a cop or a priest or a rabbi or a sister or a lover or a boss, it doesn't matter what. Okay? Um, but that what you find is that you want something.
Yes.
Okay? And that because you want something, that's a definition of suffering itself. Can you see that? In the formal definition of the word suffering that the Buddha and Sariputta sometimes gives in the suttas, they basically break it down into three groups. The first group is clearly obvious to the low-minded person. We can actually intellectually pick it apart, but for the ordinary, average, low-class person, you could name dukkha as old age, sickness, and death, and everyone would agree. That's suffering. Dying is suffering. Having to put up with someone who has just died. You've got a body on your hands. That's suffering. Getting sick is suffering. Um, Old age is suffering for the ordinary minded person. Um, Never mind that we bring the Dhamma into it later and do some investigation. But on the surface, not only are those things suffering, but they're the big ones.
Hmm.
And right now, you don't have any of the big ones.
No.
No. Okay. The second mode that is the definition or the explanation of dukkha is comes into um, the outward manifestation of someone who is in a state, a heavy state of dukkha, which would be lamentation, oh, poor me, a pity party,
Yeah.
grief, despair, uh, being really out of it, being overwhelmed in more than just a momentary sense. Okay. And so that's basically the big deal. But then the third part of the definition is when we really hone down onto it, which is what we can actually do something more about. And so the next item, which is the first one on the list, is wanting something we don't have.
Hmm.
That's the big one. And that's what you're into right now. You want something that you don't have. And that you're actually trying to figure out a way of getting it.
Yes.
And so the mind starts to whirn and spurn and steer and turn and wanting something, right? So it may be not the thought. Okay, you're back.
Uh, yeah. Now it's back.
All right. The last thing that I said was is that dukkha then is wanting something we don't have,
Hmm.
like an internet connection. And that's a good example because now that the internet connection is back,
We're feeling better. I like it. Yeah.
precisely, okay, but um, the internet connection was not necessary for you to feel good. That really what was going on is that you wanted something that you didn't have, which was the internet connection. If you'd lost a connection with someone you really didn't want to have a communication with, and there they were on Skype and they're yak, 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 and then your internet connection broke, you can say, wow, that's good. So it's not the internet connection itself, it's that we wanted it. And so this is where we begin to look at that craving, or in the Pali, the word is tanha, which also has one of its definition as thirst. So you're thirsty for something. And that right now, how we've been practicing is that when you think about wanting something that you're thirsty for, and then you stop thinking and take a deep breath, really, that thirsty is still there. And so the thoughts of thirsty come right back up again.
Yes.
Okay. So at this level already, we need to start dealing not with the thoughts of thirsty, but thirsty itself. Okay. To start examining how you feel when you want something you don't have. And you can examine not only how you feel about it, but why you want it, so that you may not be able to get it. Can you be okay without it? Well, if you don't want it, sure, you can be okay without it. But in fact, it's quite possible that the more you want it, the less likely you are to get it.
And that is an intellectual, like, investigation?
No, let me give you a very, very clear example of that. The room is completely pitch black dark. All the furniture and the pictures and the wall coverings and everything are in a darker tone and not bright anyway. And there's a black cat in that room. You know it's in there. When you open the door, you can see the cat. But now that you've closed the door and you're in the room, so the question is, I want that cat. What's the best way to get that cat?
Opens the door.
Okay, well, let's assume that that's not part of it, all right?
Okay.
Okay, let's just assume that that's not part of it. Yeah, you're right. I already thought about that. I knew when I said that door. Okay, but so let's assume something else then, all right? But even with the door open, still chasing down the cat is not the right way of catching the cat. And then in your case, sometimes the door opens and sometimes the door is closed. But so long as we're chasing something, you know how the right way to catch that cat? Is to sit down on the floor and wait. And the cat will come to you. That's the way to catch the cat. But if you chase it, it will always run. And that's what it seems like with almost everything that we want. Everything that we chase after becomes elusive, so that when we actually do catch it, we cling to it tightly, lest it get away again.
Yes.
There's a Pali word for that too.
What is it?
Upadana.
And that's a clinging to something we got that we wanted.
Right.
Okay.
And then, in fact, sometimes we're clinging to things that we wanted a long time ago and got a long time ago, and now we need to look to see, is this thing worth clinging to anymore? So, This thirst for things that we don't have and clinging to things that are no longer useful, valuable, and wholesome, you could go so far as to say fear is occasionally useful, valuable, and wholesome, keeps us out of danger.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, fear is not valuable and wholesome when it has no value like that. In fact, it's downright detrimental, unwholesome. So, if there's nothing to be afraid of, why should we be afraid? The answer is because we've already developed the habit of being afraid. And we already have the instinctual mechanisms for that fear. But there's no need to be afraid. So part of what the process is in recognizing this sequence of events in the way that the mind works, and in the Pali, this is called paticca samuppada. In Thai, they say paticca samuppada. Paticca samuppada actually is translated with a ho-hum kind of translation, is dependent origination, because each word is translated that way. How do
Okay.
things arise? They arise dependently.
Okay,
Okay.
so the thirst comes, and then the thought comes, and then the feeling comes again, and
Mhm.
okay.
Okay, right. And so you begin to see how things are working together like that, that wind us up in a state of dukkha. Mostly because we're clinging to something that we want that we don't have, or that we're afraid to do without it.
Yeah, or we clinging to something that we already have, and
Mm-hmm.
like a really
And
silly example would be sometimes like I love to like learn languages, and I'm learning Chinese, and sometimes the thought comes up, okay, why are you doing this? Someday you will die and then it's gone. So what's the value? And so I'm even clinging to this. Like it's really dumb thought, but
uh-huh. Actually, you caught me red-handed.
I caught you. I don't know the expression, sorry.
Oh, when when someone is caught red-handed, actually the red is blood. So you
Okay,
caught me
so I
with
caught them by
bloody hands.
surprise. Okay.
Okay. And what that means is uh, that, yeah, I have done that before
Okay.
myself.
Okay. Yeah, got it. Okay.
Hmm. Yeah, been there, done that is another way of saying it.
Yeah.
I just had, you caught me red-handed. So, yes, that's exactly the way. Say that again. Let's do it again.
That sometimes I cling to something that I already have or that I'm really excited to do, but then I'm scared to lose it. For example, if I die, and then I think about, okay, this has no value to
Hmm.
do it because someday I will die,
I've
and then
died.
all my effort is gone.
Hmm. Okay. This is kind of how I feel about the Dhamma in a way. That's why I said you caught me red handed, in the
Okay.
sense that here I am, an old man, and I've already accumulated all of this wisdom, this really, really powerful and wonderful stuff. Not because it's mine, but because I've been in it long enough to recognize how valuable it is. And yet I'm going to die. And when I die, it's gone.
Exactly.
With maybe a video or two left, which might have some lingering value. But other than that, yeah, the knowledge itself, gone. So, in that regard, that's another way of recognizing that everything is temporary, including the skills that we have and the knowledge that we gain. Which means that we had better well then get the value of those skills and that knowledge right here in this very life.
And in the moment, probably. Like,
That's the only one you can count on.
yeah.
It's not dangerous right now. Tomorrow, who knows what's going to come? In fact, there is an expression in a poetic thing. In fact, the Pali itself is poetry. You can read the Pali and hear the poetry built right into it. This is a poem, but when it's translated into English, not so much. About the best thing you can do is go in a direction of a poetic translation and then blank and then phrase it that way. But in there, there's the expression of Mara and death and his hordes. Okay. Now, basically, what they're getting there is there's a whole lot of different ways to die. There's a horde of ways to die. How many different ways to die can you think of?
A lot.
Well, all of them have to do with stop breathing.
Yes.
Yeah, that's about the only way to die, in fact, is just stop breathing. Now, there's a whole lot of different ways to cause that to happen. Okay? You could get buried underground. You could be on fire. You could be underwater. You could be, let us say, in a cramped, closed space where there's no air, like, or doing without air. The four elements, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in that regard, those are the four basic ways to die, but that there are many, many different little ways that you could have. An example of that would be poison, and who would know what the poison would be? I guess hemlock is a plant poison, but cyanide is an elemental poison. So. In that regard, what we're getting at is that who knows what's going to happen tomorrow? Our skills and our knowledge are good for today. And so, in that regard of Chinese, if you enjoy it in this moment, then continue to do it. And if it's no longer enjoyable, then what's the point?
Yeah. And that was everything in life, probably.
At least to this guy, this idea of when I want something that I don't have, look what damage it does. What's the value in thinking about something that you want? Why try to solve a problem to get what you want when problems are generally not solved that way? Scientists talk about this often also. So, in fact, Einstein was quite famous for it. Of being able to get his mind off of it. And then the solution to his math problem would just appear.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. That they wake up in the morning.
Yeah, and the subconscious is just working on it and giving it to you.
Yeah, if we can leave it down in the subconscious to deal with, or maybe it's not even dealing with it. Maybe the answer was there all along. And all we kept doing was digging for it. But when we stopped digging, it just bubbled up, kind of.
Year of fates, like you said.
Kind of like that black cat in that dark room.
Yeah, I've been through that so many times, and yet it's so funny to not see it. Like, for example, there's a situation with the relation I told you in the beginning. I know it will fade in 2 weeks or something like that, and then it's gone, and will come up every month, and then every year, and then whatever, it's gone forever. But every time something like this comes up, I cling to it again and cling to it again, and so intellectually knowing it will go away. So the most rational thing to do would be to just put it away now.
Okay.
But it's always so hard for me to see things rationally, but then actually do them. Like, I can intellectualize them, but...
Well, here's part of the reason why that happens, you see, is that in that regard of wanting things that we don't have, means also from the victim's position is that I'm not going to get it unless I work really hard at it. And hence
Okay.
we think really hard about it, trying to figure it out and figure it out, okay? So let's set that aside for a second and look at it from the winner's position, in the sense of either one, it don't matter anyway, or number two, it's going to be easy to get, and number three, we're all going to enjoy it when it happens.
Okay.
So this is kind of a winner's way of looking at it. One, it don't matter that much. Number two is that when it's time for it, I'll be successful. I can handle that too. Whatever it is that comes up, we can do it. No problems. And number three, which is the most important part, is that and everybody will enjoy it.
Okay.
All right. So this also goes to the point that there is a sutta, a very interesting sutta, because the name of it is the Half Sutta.
Okay.
HALF, half. That's the name of it. It's a sutta by the half. But it's not half a sutta. It's in fact the entire teaching of the Buddha. And here's what goes on with that is that there was a time when Sariputta told Ananda that friendship was half of the spiritual path. That's what the Sangha is all about, is a Sangha of friends. And that Ananda came and questioned the Buddha about that, and the Buddha says, well, no, that's not correct. Friendship is 100% all of the Dhamma. That's all that I teach.
Okay.
In the sense of dukkha, dukkha nirodha. Let's get over the dukkha and be in dukkha nirodha. All together now. This is what metta and karuna and mudita is all about, is how do we deal with the world from a mind that is well-developed, skillful, knowledgeable, and has the tools. How are we going to deal with the world? Well, we're going to learn to deal with the world by learning to deal with ourselves, and that is by being friends. Okay? That we are, in fact, as I explained to you, we become friends with our fear so that we know when it's a false alarm. And you begin to understand that almost every one of them is a false alarm, and all we have to do is say, down, boy, down, no problem, no problem.
So getting to know it.
You have to know your fear. And by doing so, it becomes manageable easily, which then means that we become kind of fearless. So we become also friends with other emotions. That in fact, part of the process of becoming free from anger is by making friends with it. In the sense of expressing and understanding the power that you feel. But that if you use that power, you're going to do damage.
Okay.
And so we learn to restrain it, and we see the dukkha in it. We understand the power, but we also understand that that power needs to be restrained.
Okay. So
And by
this is
doing
being
that,
mindful. Okay, this is being mindful before you act when you're angry, and being mindful before you talk, and
absolutely, absolutely. And that if we come to the point with whoever it is that you want this thing from, that you've got all of this problem going on, if you can actually be good friends with that person, well, let me do it this way, in the form of friendship, or in the form of a question, rather. And that is that if you want something from someone that you know is tightwad and tight-fisted, and you're unhappy with him anyway, being in an unhappy state, both of you, are you likely to get from him what you want?
no.
No. If he is a good, open, and close friend of yours, and the two of you are getting along very well, and he is interested in your welfare as you are with him, then whatever you want from him, he's more than likely going to give it to you. Is that not correct?
Sure.
Does that not solve your problem already? Not think about it. That's a rhetorical question. Yeah. So when we begin to see things as friendly, when we see ourselves as happy and friendly on the inside and no need to be afraid of even myself, and to recognize that I want something and that that's causing the suffering, that I want something. That's the definition from the Buddha of what is dissatisfaction, is not being satisfied. That is just so remarkable. I mean, when it hit me, it's like, yeah, of course. Dukkha is being dissatisfied, and I think that if I get something, then I'll be satisfied. I want something I don't have, and when I get it, I'll be satisfied. The internet came back. Right? But if I didn't want it in the first place, then it doesn't matter whether it comes or not.
So the relationship with the thirst, for example, would be unwholesome right now because I want it to go away. And if I don't want it to go away, it will go away.
Mm-hmm. The same kind of thing.
Okay.
You could see it almost like this, that the harder you push on something, the more likely it's going to get stucker and stucker.
Okay.
That they grind their heels in, or is a way of looking, especially if you're pushing, like chasing the cat. The cat will run. All right, can't catch it. Same thing, exactly.
Okay.
This is the whole concept of the carrot and the stick. That the donkey that's pulling the cart, put a carrot out in front of him.
Yeah.
And so long as he wants the carrot, he'll continue to walk. But if he stops, then you use the stick. And between the carrot and the stick, you can keep the donkey moving. Okay? We are all that way. We are all the humans. This society offers both carrots and sticks. And we're almost caught on the treadmill. And we're afraid to just simply stop because of some imaginary stick that we've got above our own head.
Maybe this is like really strange question, but why to go on with society then? Why don't just say whatever? I don't care. Like, I don't need these people. I don't need anyone. Like, I don't need these rules. I don't have to work. Like, I don't need money if I don't want anything. Like,
okay.
Because I had this thought a lot.
That is actually quite an awakening. That's a really excellent question that people should begin to ask themselves. In fact, that's part of one of the most fundamental questions of all.
Yeah, and I often can't find an answer. Like, I don't know with the recording right now.
Yes, we are, but the point is that it's not the answer, it's the question that needs to be investigated. Actually, on a continuing basis, at each moment, you can ask that question so as to decide how you're going to handle this particular moment. Am I going to handle it all grasping and clinging to society, or am I going to let go of it and deal with things easy?
But then I think sometimes it turns into wanting again then, because I have this feeling, okay, I don't need my work. I can live with, like, I don't want any material things. Like, I really don't care. I don't buy anything.
Isn't it marvelous? Most people are actually like that unless they've gotten themselves into debt because they wanted way too much. But one of the things that I have seen over the years with many, many people who get interested in Buddhism is that they start leading simpler lives. They start withdrawing from society. They begin to recognize what is really important to them by recognizing what's not important to them. Basically, what happens is that we have a huge basket of important. And we keep taking things out of it and recognize, oh, that's not really important. And so we throw it out. And then we take something else. No, it's not important. We throw that out. And we take something else. Nah, and the basket starts getting empty, and we wind up not putting any new things back into that basket of important. And we start taking things out. Congratulations. You're beginning to ask the right question. And so I'm giving you an analogy of that's what you begin to do. You begin to look into that basket of important and recognizing that things are really not all of that important. The less important things are, then the less work you have to do in your life.
But to make really the point, sorry, is like this wanting comes from, I want to get away from this. So I think this is then unwholesome again, to be like, okay, when I finished my study, I can do whatever I want. I can walk away, I don't know, like you did maybe, and just be in a forest and live my life without all this bullshit around me.
Well, there's a lot of options on the other side. But that's one of them. Yeah. In fact, this is a good enough for us. There's a spot for you here on the floor. Come hang out for a couple of years.
Sounds like a really good idea, yes.
Yeah. But I think everybody should experiment with that some. Some of us come and go and come and go. And sometimes the frequency of our coming and going begins to slow right down. The first time I was in India, I was only there for a couple of months. But I eventually started hanging out there altogether. And now I can safely say that I've been in Asia nearly 40 years of the past 75.
Okay.
But it was always a coming and going. I've been back to the States on a, not a regular basis, but from time to time.
Could we have a talk sometime about that? Like how you got into that, how one gets into that? Like how to set it up?
Well, we can talk about that, sure. Yeah, we can talk about that. But the way that we're looking at this particular discussion is that you begin to look at the fact that you are uncomfortable because you want something. Can you come out of that for a little while? Can you say, I can think about that and feel bad about it later? I'm going to feel good right now.
It's kind of paradoxical in my mind, because when I say that, like, I want to get away, and that's something I want, but then, like, you say, like, the society and all this isn't that good, so being happy in this moment, like, I can't fully appreciate it. Yeah, I don't know if it makes sense, but it's kind of paradoxical.
If you come to the woods without changing your mind, when you get to the woods, you'll be asking your question like, what the fuck am I doing here in the woods?
Yes, that could arise.
Right. The whole point is, can you escape from what you want right now? This is one of the biggest. In fact, you could go so far as to say that even just looking at it in raw percentages, it's a third. There's only 3 kinds of feelings we have, and this wanting something, especially in the sense that if we want something and we get it immediately. For instance, I want a sip of coffee, I take the coffee, I sip it, bang, it's done. Anything that takes more than, say, 20 seconds
it's bad.
Is wanting something, not bad, but it's wanting something you don't have right now.
Okay.
Okay. Because it was, let us say this, even the internet was only out for 20 seconds. but already you were wanting the internet back.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. But you knew it was coming back.
Yes.
Yeah, you knew it was going to come back. But the wanting it to come back came back before the internet itself did.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, of course. Because if the internet came back, then what's to want? You got it. All right. So now we're looking at the real issue. The issue is that we want things that we don't have.
Yes.
So let's begin to deal with it at that level and say, for instance, wow, I recognize this is Myra. Wanting something I don't have is a very strong example of it. No matter what it is that I want, if I don't have it right now, that longing is there, and that longing is uncomfortable. And we can deal with the longing itself immediately by taking a deep breath and start to have some happy thoughts and get our mind off of it and think about something new that's good, valuable, and wholesome. Like I'm all right without it. Well, I'm glad I don't have to have that thing. See, as long as we're making it important, you've got a problem on your hand. You've got to make it solved. So one of the things you can do is you can tell yourself right now, in this very moment, it's not important. It may be important tomorrow or next week, but tomorrow I can handle it. Then let me learn how to handle this moment.
Okay, so to put it off, like for the proper moment, to not just push it away, like not wanting it forever, but just saying, okay, when the time comes.
There's a time and place for everything. So let's do things in their time and place instead of doing it in advance with all this longing and wanting in the heart that's so uncomfortable.
Okay.
And so we need to actually intellectually keep telling ourselves over and over again, intellectually, so it's really not that important. And number two, when the time comes, we can handle it correctly.
And it all comes down probably to right attitude, like this not self-victimizing.
Absolutely. Yes, this is all about the Eightfold Noble Path, most specifically that right noble attitude. It's an attitude that we're good. We're okay. We don't need whatever it is you're selling.
And it's the talking oneself into it again, like really saying, I don't want it right now, like it's fine, I can do it, I'm a lion, and all this.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so this is a skill to be developed. Practice.
Yeah, it's a hard skill.
Practice. There's that old joke about the young kid that was walking in the city of New York with a violin case in his hand, and he
With what?
asked us with a violin case.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, he was carrying a violin in a case, and he was walking around looking for something, and he asked this old Jewish man, "Oh, sir, can you give me the directions? How do I get to Carnegie Hall?" The old man looked at him and looked at the violin, and he said, "Practice, my son. Practice." That's how you find your way to Carnegie Hall. Exactly. So this is how we have to do, is we have to keep practicing to come out of that state of wanting and recognize right now I'm okay. I don't need it right now. Now is not the moment.
And wanting can also be like wanting it to be solved, because I'm not actually wanting something, I just want it to be solved, to not think about it.
Then don't think about it. It's already solved. If you don't want it solved, then it's already solved. You want it solved. You want this problem fixed.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Well, when the time comes to fix that problem, you'll know what to do in that moment.
Yeah, it's so funny because now it's thoughts like, okay, but if I don't think about it, like I can't come up with solutions. Like when
You don't need to come up to solutions until that moment when you need it. And what you really need at that moment is right attitude and a right smile rather than the right solution.
It's hard. Yeah, I get it. Like I kind of get it intellectually, but it's hard to let it sink in.
I know.
Yeah.
I do. I really do. But you can learn to develop the habit of recognizing that it doesn't. Okay, here's the way of looking at it intellectually also. It doesn't matter how many times you ruminate and ruminate and ruminate over it. Every time that you go over it one more time, all you're doing is keeping yourself in the state of wanting something you don't have, which is the solution to the problem.
Yes.
You're not inviting the solution to come to you. You're chasing the solution with the same old thought patterns. It's like in that room with the black cat, that every time you move a piece of furniture around,
the cat runs away.
The cat's not behind it.
Yeah.
Why? Because the cat knows while you're doing it what piece of furniture you're trying to move. All right. But if you just sit down without a solution to the problem, more than likely, in fact, the way that it looks to me is that the solution is going to come to you at the point in time when someone asks you the question, which you need a solution for. And so you can trust yourself that you'll come up with the right answer to that question rather than looking for a solution to a problem that you've manufactured in your own mind. You don't know what question is going to actually be asked. But if you know that you can handle that question when it is asked, now you can be satisfied and happy and joyful up until the time that that question is asked. That's one of the easy, let us say, correct answers would be, I don't know.
Yeah. At the moment, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. But you're making it important.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Make friendship important.
In the sense of making friendship with myself, with my feelings, with my thoughts important.
And with whoever's going to be asking you the question at that time.
Okay.
Don't see him as or her as an enemy.
Okay. Yeah. That's funny. Like until the until the question would be solved, I would be like, oh yeah, she's making me like she's a dukkha is arising when I see her, so avoid her. Yeah, funny. Yeah.
Well, it takes a bit of investigation. That's why I'm going through this.
Yes.
And the actual problem and the actual person and the actual question is irrelevant. Because what you need to answer that question is the skill and the confidence that you can do whatever it needs to be done in a happy, friendly way.
Oh my God, we could really go down this rabbit hole now because, but I don't know if it's valuable. Because
well, you need to practice so that you get your confidence up. This is the Pali word shraddha, and it does not mean faith. It means actual accomplishment. Been there, done that, know this.
Accomplishments through seeing it myself and not believing in it. Okay.
You have to be able to see that you can turn your bad feeling mechanism of wanting something you don't have off and be happy and comfortable in this moment.
Okay.
Because sitting there and spinning over it is not solving the problem anyway.
That's true, yes.
That's the important point, is that I'm spinning my wheels right now. There's no reason to have a thought.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. But in fact, one of the things that I can do from time to time is, let us say, any business or any thing that I've got to do with someone in the United States. I know that we're at, or on the East Coast, especially, we're at a 12-hour time zone change, which means they're asleep when I'm awake and I'm awake when they're asleep, etc., like that. So for emails, that means that no email is needed. I can write any email that I'm going to write after 7 p.m. in the evening.
Oh, yeah.
Because why write it and send it now? They're asleep. Therefore, I don't even have to think about it. And so you can begin to think of things like that. Is you said, oh, there's a time change or whatever, and this is not the right time to do it. Let's do things at the right time. Let's not write that email when it's still 2 a.m. for them. Let's wait and write it when they will arrive in their inbox.
Okay.
Just when
Yeah.
they sit down at their desk.
Yeah, I understand.
Uh-huh. So, we can do this with practice. This is what Anapanasati is all about. Sati is to wake up and see that wanting something that I don't have, some problem solving that I'm doing right now, is in fact uncomfortable. Let me find comfort in this moment. Let me do these things, take a deep breath, start giving myself some good thoughts, and literally, intentionally relax.
So can come like this overthinking to the practice as well? Like, for example, you were talking about dependent origination. And sometimes when there's a thought, I really like to fall in the habit to reverse engineer it and like, okay, there's a thought, there had to be the feeling, what was the feeling? And like not going from seeing the feeling to the
Okay,
thought, but going the other way.
that will be some value.
Okay.
But it will be even more value when you see it when it's actually happening. In other words, it went bang, dang, 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 and now I wake up and I can reverse engineer it. The best thing to do is to wake up now and watch it happen.
Yeah.
As opposed to reverse engineering, because we're making up stuff when it's reverse engineered. But be happy that you did wake up, so that at least you can see the last kind of thing. The most important quality is that we investigated enough to see that this is dukkha and therefore needs to be kicked back out. But we also know that the mind has habit patterns. The Buddha actually had the analogy of when the elephant runs away, the elephant trainers know exactly where that elephant is. They go get him again, bring him back, and tie him down. And so we actually use that analogy of the elephant being tied to the stake is like the mind being tied down to the breathing. And the mind will wander away. The elephant will get away. He'll kick and scream, or not scream, but he'll kick back and forth until he can get free. And where does he go? Back to his old favorite haunt. For you, it's this problem that you've got to solve. That's your old haunt. All right? That's your old friendly territory. So you can make actually I wouldn't call it a vow, but a strong determination or a strong intention that I'm not going to allow myself to think about that. That any time that problem comes up into the mind, I'm going to chase it out. And I'm going to be on guard to make sure that thought doesn't get in.
Yeah, maybe that's good to be on guard and to not, maybe some thoughts, like if I investigate them, they just make it worse. So maybe some just, okay, whatever, just go away without investigating anything.
Exactly. Once you investigate it to know that this is no longer useful, valuable, or wholesome, out it goes.
Okay.
You've done the investigation that needed to be done.
Okay.
And that's something a lot of people don't understand. They think that there's great value in the insight of rubbishing through my own garbage. The answer is no. Let's take the garbage out.
Okay. Think I can work with that.
All right. So that analogy of the elephant, that's a good one. Here's a clear example of that. The old man, this is one that I've known for a long time. The old man who has been going to the temple all these years, he's in fact on the board of directors or whatever that is in Thailand, and he's well known, everybody loves him. And then a new monk comes, and he gets into an argument with that new monk. When he goes home in his time there, because he's a skilled Dhamma dude, he will say, I'm not going to think about the what at all. If I think about the what, I'll think about that monk. If I think about that monk, I'll think about that argument, and then I'll feel bad, so I'm not going to let that in my mind.
Okay.
Everything about the what is off limits now. When I go to the what, I'll deal with the what, and I'll deal with that monk if I have to then. But
yes,
I'm not going to deal with him now.
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It really does. And so start watching the thoughts that you have that gin up these bad feelings of longing and wanting, and relax into that. Relax it so that you don't have to be in a state of wanting something you don't have. You're okay right now. And learn to cultivate that feeling of, I'm okay right now. This is all right now. I don't have any work to do, no place to go, nothing to do. This moment is wonderful. No carrot and no stick.
Well, yeah, it's funny. What I notice is when I get one of these moments where I'm really like, okay, everything is fine, I get really what's the word? Euphorized, like euphoric. Like there's, I don't know, goosebumps on my body, like tingling, and I feel like dancing and singing, and it's funny.
Yeah. Dance and sing. Of course, dance and sing. Yes, exactly. Allow yourself to have the joy and the freedom to enjoy your freedom.
Okay.
You're not the prisoner that you were telling yourself that you were your whole life.
Okay. Okay. And maybe I had some like two, like one big and one small question. So maybe I just throw in the small and then the big. Maybe you just say for next time.
Okay. Throw the small question in.
The small is that I still get this pressure and headache when I really, I don't know, not concentrate, just take the deep breath. Sometimes when I'm reading and just take the deep breath, I get this like really annoying pressure right here. And when I meditate, it's even worse. But there's no effort. Like I'm kind of sure that it's not related to effort. Because even when I'm just sit and I'm like, okay, annoying pressure.
Do you think it has anything to do with sinus or any nasal thing?
I don't know. I was thinking maybe, yeah, because it doesn't make any sense to just take a deep breath and then have this here.
Okay. So what I would suggest then is that you get a standard nasal product, one of two kinds, and the kind that I would recommend would be the one that's an aromatic. I've got one here someplace, and that it's got a lot of eucalyptus and stuff in it, and it really does clean things out. The other one, which I would not recommend, is much more of a medical product that would be called an antihistamine. But that too, by spraying it into the nose and
Yeah.
breathing,
Okay.
will help clean that out. I would recommend that you try that just to make sure between the two of us that you're not actually experiencing something physiological.
Okay. What just came in my mind, maybe to edit, was when I'm on the cushion and the pressure builds up, it builds up, it builds up, and then it like this tingling and these goosebumps come, and then it goes away a bit, and then it's like, let's say at 60%, and then I like the tingling and goosebumps go away, and it builds up again, and like it's like a circle, but I can't make anything out of it. It's just something I notice.
Okay. The next question that I have would be, would you be breathing through your nose or through your mouth?
Through the nose.
Okay. You, in fact, can experiment with that.
To switch it around?
Normally, in the sense of you can take an in-breath through the nostrils and do the out-breath through the mouth.
Okay.
Then you can try both of the in-breath and the out-breath through the mouth. And then you can go back to nasal only, and then one and one, and then the other. And experiment and play with that and see if that has any effect upon what you're talking about. Because as you're saying, it's not a matter of tension based in frustration or in wanting something, but rather this sounds more physiological.
Okay.
Something is actually there for you to look at.
Okay, so it is combined with frustration, but once it's there, I just get annoyed because I don't want to be there. But I don't think it's like the cause is the effort or the frustration. I think.
Okay.
Not.
Well, if you get the kind of one product they have in Thailand that is used in a different way, but it has the same aromatic, is what they call Tiger Balm.
Ah, yeah, I got it here. Yes.
Okay. All right. So make sure that you're, I wouldn't say snort it, but take a deep inhale through the nostrils to let some of this aromatic menthol related, eucalyptus related kind of thing to help clear out the sinuses and see if that helps.
Okay. We'll try that.
Okay.
Okay.
And also, you can begin to draw, after you take those antihistamines or whatever product that you're taking, you can actually draw down some of that sinus gunk through the back of the throat through pressure. Like that. And I'd bring up a lot of the stuff that's in the upper echelons into your mouth so that you can spit it out.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And that modern day atmospheres are not conducive to good breathing. Unless you're way out of the city. If you're out of the city, but if you're in cities, then we need to take care that you can breathe well.
I'm in a city, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So you're breathing a lot of pollution that you don't need to be breathing.
Okay, so aromatic, okay.
So when you quit your job, quit the city too. Come hang out at the ports. This is really nice here. We're on an island, you know. Yeah, the air is pure and it's exciting from time to time.
Exciting in what sense?
thunders and lightnings and heavy winds
Okay.
and
And apes? Are there apes? Okay. Cool. Yeah.
So anyway, take your island life to the cushion right now.
Your what to the cushion?
Take the island life, the mentality of
Okay.
being
Yes.
free. Okay.
Yes.
But you got no when you close your eyes and your mind and your sinuses are clear, it's like you're not even in the city anymore.
Yes.
They're so far away. Not important.
Okay.
So the three things that we were talking about back, one, it's not really that important. Number two, you can handle it when the time comes. You've got the skills. And number three, everybody wins. Everybody winds up being happy.
In the sense of when I do it, like it just has a good effect on me, on everyone around me.
Right.
And
If you can be joyful and happy, that will spread to other people.
okay,
That's
yes.
what the practice of mudita is can you take the joy that you have manufactured in your own mind and give it to other people as a gift,
Yeah. Okay.
which promotes friendship a lot.
Okay.
Are you going to take to this person all of your frustrations and worries because you can't solve their stupid problem?
Okay.
All right. Well, we'll see you later.
Yes. Thank you very
This
much.
has been a very nice, interesting talk. Please thank you for bringing this up.
Yes.
This is
Thanks.
good.
Thanks for the
Good.
talk.
Okay. Well, don't
Okay.
worry. Be happy. Notice
Yes.
that you want something you don't have, and out it goes.
Okay.
Okay.
Nice. See you. Bye.
Okay. Bye bye.